Okay, we're at week 9, boundaries as a relationship regulator, but I really want to jump into it because what I've realized is that without boundaries, you will never get your nervous system in order. You'll never regulate your nervous system without boundaries. You'll never be able to live a life where you feel safe. You have to understand when someone experiences anxiety is because the nervous system is conditioned to not feeling safe. Let me say this right here. Let me try to say it a little differently. Without boundaries, it's going to be impossible to overcome anxiety in relationships. Without boundaries, it's going to be impossible to overcome anxiety in relationships because you won't have safe parameters, and involuntarily you may still be engaging in people pleasing. That's where a lot of that comes from, because us as parents unknowingly can teach people pleasing. Okay, if you do what I want, good things are going to happen and I'm not going to get upset with you. If you don't, there are going to be consequences instead of teaching choices. Now, I'm not knocking anyone's parents. That's not what I'm trying to do. But what I'm trying to say is you have a responsibility to set parameters in your life. It keeps integrity with yourself, but it also trains other people how to treat you, which is extremely important. So as we approach this week, there's some different things we're going to have to overcome. We're not going to just talk about boundaries. The reason there's a lack of boundaries is because there's some fear, right? So we have to get to the bottom of what the core belief system is. What have you been telling yourself over and over again that's not true, that you can see creating dysfunction and these patterns in your life? And you seem to be drawing a certain type of person in your life, and you see these cycles occurring over and over again, and this isn't accidental. So what I'm going to teach you how to do on a nervous system level is essentially shift the frequency. When you shift the frequency, right? Watch this. When you set boundaries, some people may go away, some relationships may break apart, but those may not be your people, and you'll attract people that respect you but also respects themselves. But it's going to start with you prioritizing you, loving you, and showing up as the best version of yourself. That doesn't mean we don't help people. That doesn't mean we don't serve. But the first person we serve is ourselves. We prioritize ourselves, our well-being, and our fulfillment so that we can show up as the best versions of ourselves. Boundaries signal safety on both sides of a relationship. This is what it means. People know what to expect, and you know what to expect from you. You should also be exploring the boundaries of the person within the relationship as well. Because if we narrow down expectation and you're clear on it, the challenging part for me is within relationships, friendship. This isn't just romantic relationships, business relationships, friendships. You want to know the parameters of what are the boundaries, what are the expectations. Being able to communicate yours encourages the people around you to communicate theirs, and you're actually, I like one of the sayings from one of my mentors, is that someone's always eating the fruit off of your tree. So what you'll notice is other people around you are going to start to feel free to be able to communicate these boundaries, which is key. Boundaries are not emotional walls. They are bridges for safe connection. Boundaries are not emotional walls. They're bridges to safe connection. And the more boundaries you have, watch this. People, when they understand your boundaries, they feel safer with you. It's not just you feeling safer with them. And this helps to build connection, because now we can have real conversation. We can build intimacy, which I like to refer to as into my heart see. And then we're able to show up as our authentic self. Okay, boundaries are different from emotional walls. Walls block. Boundaries create connection. Boundaries versus emotional walls. Okay, boundaries are not the same as emotional walls. Walls block, right? Boundaries help to build connection. Just like I was speaking about, it helps to build connection. It creates a safe space for authenticity. And when you start what I like to call culture setting, you start to set the culture. See, for myself, for a long time, right, I had a difficult time talking about hard topics, challenging topics. You know what I mean? My value system. And then I brought it into my relationship with my wife, and then within the marriage, and she's helped me in many ways to talk about those challenging things, because that's where miscommunication occurs. Well, it's kind of uncomfortable, so what we do is we shy away from things that's uncomfortable. It's a part of human nature unless you train yourself out of it and you redefine it. So if I redefine a challenging conversation, right? Do's and do not, things that hurt my feelings, insecurities that I have within myself, things surrounding money, things surrounding sexual intimacy or physical intimacy, all these different things, right? If I am able to address these things, now I'm able to start the shift. I'm able to start showing up as myself. I'm more open. You need to at least be open with the person that you partner with in a romantic relationship, because that's a deeper level. It's not like I'm telling you to go into your job and tell everyone every single thing about you. That wouldn't be appropriate. But even on the job, you can communicate your professional expectations. But then during friendships and relationships, you're also able to communicate that as well. I like this, I don't like that. But then it's going to take us back to one thing that we've been talking about in the first 8 weeks: self-awareness. So I need to be aware of where my insecurities, where my blocks are, where my blind spots are. And the more open I am, now the person feels safe. So I know where their parameters are. Now I can talk about this because they invited me and they're this open. It allows the person to be open. And that doesn't mean everyone is, but at least it makes it more likely that they are. And then that makes it more likely that you'll have a fulfilling, authentic relationship and life. So then now that I have boundaries, it starts to teach my nervous system that I don't have to sacrifice autonomy. That's what happens a lot of times in romantic relationships, marriages, friendships. You're going places. Sometimes you just want time alone and you're forcing yourself to go out. Then you feel more overwhelmed. Then acute stress hits. The acute stress, that's the micro stressors over an extended period of time that start to become chronic because you have the same unconscious cycles. What do I mean? You need to rest, but okay, I'm gonna go out anyway. Okay, so you're not doing your self-care routines. You're not doing things like meditation. Your sleep cycle is off. You're not exercising. You're not pouring into yourself. And that's fine. You want to serve and be there for others. But watch this. Acute stress over a long-term period of time can trigger different cycles of anxiety and depression. And this is important because you start not feeling safe in your environment. But who's creating the environment and the culture within relationships? It's you. Hey, and I get it, because there's this fear. And the number one fear I've found, right, in therapy and doing sessions, at least what I've seen, is fear of being alone, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment. These things right here, we have to address that. And a lot of these cycles have occurred in our childhood. Remember, we talked about it, ages of 1 to 8, we're functioning in theta brainwave state. So everything is going into the nervous system, the unconscious, the subconscious. So these are the cycles we want to change, but we can't. Boundaries let us connect without sacrificing our sense of self. They teach our nervous system that connection is possible without losing autonomy. This is important because a lot of people lose themselves within relationships, within families, within friendships, within groups, within work. And it happens over and over again. Like, people give themselves up and they don't realize what's going to help these relationships. Even if the person doesn't know it, that you're setting the boundaries with, is going to help you be a better version of yourself and better for the relationship. Is going to help to prevent resentment, burnout, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like you don't even have autonomy, because everything you are, who you are, is tied to someone else. And that's fine. You can build a life together, but it's also a life within that you can build as well. I find that a lot of clients don't set boundaries simply because of fear. Sometimes there's a lack of awareness as well, because many people think, right, by avoiding someone being upset, by avoiding not people pleasing, they engage in people pleasing because they don't want to face rejection. They're afraid of being alone, but they're actually not giving the person an opportunity to respect their boundaries. And you can build resentment and even end up leaving, or you become angry and you haven't communicated to the person what your boundaries are, what your expectations are, or what you need. Part of it is a lack of self-awareness. Another part is because of fear. And if you can notice it, I notice it over and over again. Most people need to be upset and angry in order to communicate how they really feel. They hold it in and they hold it in until it gets to a point where it boils over. Where in life, it's okay because no one wants to be wrong. So when you tell someone, okay, this is rubbing me the wrong way, they could become defensive. It's highly likely that they may, but that doesn't mean the individual won't adjust. So it's important for us to give people these opportunities to adjust. When we set boundaries, our nervous system registers a signal. I am safe to connect. When we set boundaries, our nervous system registers a signal that says it's safe to connect, because now you can be your authentic self. Now you've communicated your expectation. If the person violates the expectation, now, okay, I can institute this boundary that I've already set. So it gives you a measure of freedom, okay? Because their first relationship, as I say a lot, is going to be your integrity with yourself, your relationship with yourself. This is the number one thing people disregard, especially when we connect in relationships and become a part of communities that we build. Boundary mapping exercise. Start noticing, where do you overextend for others? What do you actually need in those moments? Day 2, boundary mapping and regulation. Boundary mapping in action. Identify your overextension. Notice when you say yes, but want to say no. Where's your energy leaking out? Sometimes you get off work and you need some time alone, but you may overextend yourself and promise your friends to do certain things when you know you need that time, and then it spills over. Sometimes you're even probably too tired to sleep, or you've over obligated yourself. Then it starts to build resentment, and then you start taking it out on other people that may be close to you, even if it's that person, because sometimes you may actually take it out on that person. Then the next it says here, explore your needs. Ask, what would help me feel more supported and less drained here? I think it's important for everyone to self-monitor and create a schedule. It don't have to be a stiff schedule. What I mean when I say schedule is you creating time for yourself. That's where a lot of people fall short, because then you can be like, hey, let me check my schedule and get back to you, and you can process, see how it feels for you. Plus, most of us know cycles. Okay, when I work this much during the week, at this point, I'm gonna need a break. Whether you're married, whether you have kids, whether you don't, you can even be in school. But it's knowing where the shift is necessary. Okay, I have this amount of classes today. I know when I get off, I'm gonna be a little burnt out, and giving yourself that space and giving yourself the time. All right, draft your regulated boundary statement. For example, I am not available for phone calls after 8 p.m. You get tired at 8 p.m. because you've been up since 5 in the morning and you're exhausted, but you're going to make a promise to someone. Keep it clear and simple and grounded in self-respect. Please, I want everyone to go to their journal, right? I want you to write down the patterns you have, moments and times when you feel irritable and frustrated, whether with people or with yourself, because those are signalized as well to times where you violate your own boundaries, because you may need a rest, you may need a break, okay? And you gotta communicate these things, because it's easier to communicate it and, okay, this relationship isn't gonna last because this person isn't understanding of my boundaries and needs, because the most lonely place to be is trapped within the confines of a toxic relationship. Practice example 1, declining an extra work task when you're at capacity. Principle example 1, declining an extra work task when you're at capacity. I see so many people, right? There's nothing wrong with taking ownership for a company you work for, and it's also different when it's your own company. Either way, it's never going to all get done in one day. And if you're working for a company, you have to realize if something happens to you, they're just going to replace you and keep going. And then many of us are giving more to the companies we work for than we're giving to ourselves or our own families or our loved ones or the people around you. So it's important to reevaluate the priority. And then You're the captain of your ship. So if you're not at your best, right, the people around you is going to feel it. The people that are most invested in you, because it's not the company. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be your family. It's going to be your friends. Practical example 2. Telling a friend you need some alone time. Ooh, that's a hard one, and some friends don't understand. But are they really your friend if they can't understand what your needs are, especially if they've known you for a period of time? Because sometimes it becomes like, why do I have to tell you? And why is this? And I get it. Want to be there for your friends. And there's a measure of investing in certain friendships. But I want you to do something for me. I want you to self-monitor, because we all have cycles when we know we need rest, and to communicate with it, take a rain check, reschedule if you need to. There's nothing wrong with that, because if you show up as not your best self, you're tired, you're fatigued, now resentment sets in, you're blaming them for something you agreed to, and then you end up exploding, or it ends up not going well, or something ends up happening that's even worse than you talking to them up front, because then maybe you can preserve the relationship. Practical example 3, letting loved ones know your phone is on do not disturb. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, I'm gonna take a nap, my phone's on do not disturb. I need a little time of self-reflection because I've been feeling overwhelmed. Many of us, your friends don't even know what's really going on into you because you haven't revealed it. It's okay to allow people to be there for you like you want to be there for people all the time. And I know there are many people that struggle with this, but this is a real thing. Allow them to be able to be there for you the same way, right? The same way that you want to be there for them. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves even when we risk disappointing others. Because the most important relationship, first and foremost, is the one you have with yourself, and you keeping integrity with yourself. Integration, becoming a safe person to yourself. Self-regulation and nervous system. The most important relationship you can regulate is the one with your own nervous system. Self-safety is the foundation for safe connections with others. Self-safety. So if we want to change these programs, right? And this will also help people overcome social anxiety in many ways, but just experiencing cycles of anxiety surrounding relationships and being anxious. If you set the boundaries at first, it's going to feel uncomfortable, but then afterwards it provides connection and safety and transparency and intimacy. Into my heart, see, it's all these different things that start to happen, but you're going to have to take the first step. This is just a practical step. And most people, right, some people, they need a plan, a general plan for the day. Even having that helps you to feel overwhelmed with the multitude of choices, which I think should start with your goal statement, but I want to focus on boundaries for this week. Self-safety script. I am allowed to take up space, move at my pace, and protect my energy. Practice this statement daily, especially in moments of uncertainty. Journaling your experience helps anchor self-safety as a new habit. Remember, when we journal, we have what's called the observer effect. We pull it outside of ourselves, and we can see things that we probably wouldn't see if we didn't do it. Similar to when people are become television, right? They come to you with their issues, and you can see that solution clearly. But as they say in the fire department, when they're in the fire, you don't have 360 view. That's why you have to give up incident command. But writing it down is a version of giving up incident command to whoever is outside the house. So now you're outside of the thought and you're able to evaluate. And I like to ask myself, is this true? Is this true, I should say? This is something that you want to practice, you want to do. I even take for granted the power of journaling because it's a very powerful tool that we can take for granted. Day 4, weekly attachment, checkpoint, and reflection. Self-assessment. Sense of safety in relationships, 1 to 10. I want you to write down where that is. Ability to express needs. Gauge it from 1 to 10. I want you to write that down as well. Comfort with boundaries. So on a scale from 1 to 10. Because now you're going to start learning about you. What did I learn about my boundaries this week? Where did I feel safe? Where did I struggle? What do I want to practice more moving forward? I actually want you to do some of this daily, okay? Not just day 4, but it's a good check-in in day 4, but the week's almost done. So I want you to make sure that you're checking in. Just okay, how do I feel in this moment? What do I feel this way? What did I get right throughout the day today? What was the low? What threw me off sometimes? Okay, group discussion, insights. Share a moment when a new boundary brought more connection or safety. What surprised you? Challenges. Discuss any resistance you notice externally or internally when trying to set boundaries. I guarantee you, when you start monitoring these things, there's things that's going to come up for you, even when you feel like you're being inauthentic, is asking yourself, why am I doing this? Where's the anxiety coming from? What do I have to believe to create this level of suffering for myself? I want you to write down the first thing that comes up from the subconscious, the first thing that comes to mind, because as you go throughout it, there's going to be layers. There's going to be additional layers, because even as you peel back where certain things started and the root of it, there's a statement that's going to be behind it as well. All right, day 5, preparing for emotional exposure as safety training. So by learning to set boundaries, you're training your nervous system to experience connection as a place of safety rather than threat. Okay, so we're training ourselves. Then as we follow through on our boundaries, which is a whole nother step, now we really start to feel safe. What I can feel and survive becomes safe. What I can feel and survive becomes safe. I love it. And this is one of the modules in the larger workbook manual that you'll receive as well. Next chapter, emotional exposure as safety training. Okay, day 5, emotional exposure as safety training. One thing we want to do right is, as we go throughout this next week, we want to be able to make space so that we're able to process over this weekend, or whenever you decide to do this, that give yourself a day or two after to really process, okay, what did I learn from this about my boundaries? Do I not have boundaries? Where do you feel like you're losing integrity with yourself? Why does anxiety come up? These things, because the further we go along this journey, the more you'll get to know yourself. Blessings. Have a great day and have a great week.